Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here this morning. Make a couple of adjustments. This is Journey Home Meditation, and this is our morning sit. We'll be working through uh, our standard morning practice today. We'll have some shared breathing, and we'll talk a bit about things that seem relevant to me, that may be relevant to you in our practice today. And we'll get to some poetry. So thanks for being here this morning with Journey Home Meditation. We're coming onto this broadcast from the Beside Meditation Hall. It's a Journey Home Meditation Hall in Southern Oregon. I'm Michael, and I am very happy to be here today. Maybe even before we begin with breath this morning, just taking a moment to sit with gratitude. As I was arriving here today, I started noticing all of these tendencies, I guess is what they would be. These tendencies that I have towards the way my mind drifts in particular directions. Right? I have these tendencies to focus or be present with what doesn't feel right, what doesn't feel comfortable. And I'm recognizing more that I believe that's coming from a similar place that I would come from in my addictions or in my avoidances. But it's just a little bit more finely tuned, right? It's a little bit more classed up. It's wearing its Sunday best. My avoidance gets dressed up for court and presents itself as healing. And so I decided instead, I made the conscious choice instead, to just say thank you. Each time one of those tendencies towards stopping my discomfort would arrive. So I just said thank you. I was driving in, and I would start to have a feeling of loss, of like a grief feeling that was coming up, but it wasn't exactly coming through as grief. It would come through as an injustice. And I started having a feeling of, well, this isn't fair. I'm losing this, or especially as I get older, you start to find things that you lose in your body. You lose attention span sometimes, or memory. You start to let little things slip. And instead of grieving, it was coming out as, or maybe as the voice of grieving in the beginning, it was coming out as, this isn't fair. Why is this happening to me? And then I was able to stop myself from following that voice and just saying, thank you. Thank you for advocating for me. There's the advocate. Okay. There you are. the voice against injustice. I love you. Thank you. And I took a breath in and let it out. And even just now, the same feeling comes, this feeling of allowance, of letting go. Letting go doesn't mean always walking away. That's not what it means. I just let it go, opening my hand and letting it go. It's like when you're with a child and you're teaching a child to swim maybe, or to float, it's actually more difficult to teach a child to float than it is to teach a child to swim. I think swimming is a natural tendency that we have, like the oh shit moment in the water where our body naturally kicks in to want to pull us out of that water. So swimming, I think, comes a little more naturally than the ability to float. And there comes a moment when you're holding that child just barely from underneath as they start to find the buoyancy in their own body, and they start to trust. Right? They start to relax into their rightful place on the top of that water. This is where their body wants to be. This is where the water wants their body to be. There's a rightful place there. And what I mean by rightful isn't that we have these rights, but more like this is a place for you right now. This is right. It's okay to float on that water. So you're sitting in this water and you're holding this child, and then there's a moment where you have to let go. When the child doesn't go floating away downstream quickly, and you're not abandoning this child, you're just letting go and allowing what will become to become. And that takes a lot of trust. And it takes a little bit of faith. A lot of trust, a little bit of faith. Faith that that child's going to stay floating and not form a lifelong fear and resentment towards you. But trust. Trust that in the letting go, you are present for what becomes. And so as I was driving in, my tendency towards focusing on the discomforts that I would like to run away from came up, and I was able just to say thank you to the advocate, or thank you to the nurturer who wants to soothe myself. I was able to be floating in the discomfort right then. But it was my rightful place. This is a delicious cup of tea. I just want to say thank you to this tea. This is a date flavored pu'er. I picked this up at a really beautiful little tea shop in Tucson, Arizona this spring. And when I was there, there was a young man named Robbie, who I had never met before. He was there with, I don't know if it was his caregiver, his father, his grandfather, his friend. I'm not sure, but Robbie was especially attuned to the emotional presence of the room. And he had no fear to talk to anybody. And the standard practice in a tea house, in a tea room, is for silence, or at least very hushed voices and quiet. But Robbie wasn't paying attention to our inhibitions. He decided to let me know that he loved me. And I think that maybe he found it both exciting and a little odd that I responded immediately with, I love you. It wasn't difficult for me to do that because I have a practice of loving, truly being grateful to see someone and to marvel at them for a moment and to tell them that I love them. To speak that because it's true for me. And it was true for Robbie in that moment. And he came over and he laid his head on my chest and I gave him a hug. And it was just a lovely moment without inhibition, to allow each other in that moment to become fully aware that there is a oneness, there is a unification, there is a shared presence that we all have with one another. It's not so much me and you, me or you. It is we. And that moment with Robbie was very sweet. And this is the last of that tea. I bought a package of tea that morning. And I purchased the date-flavored pu'er because it sounded sweet. And it was a sweet moment in my trip and in my day. And so I was, when I made this, I was felt a little hint of sadness, happiness to remember that morning tea and that practice that morning of love, and sadness that maybe I won't be reminded of it as often anymore. I won't be reminded of that love every morning that I make a cup of this tea. But that's okay, because that love is not gone and it's ever present. So this cup of tea is for Robbie. Thank you, love. Bring down that bed of sound so that we can be present just with our breath for a few moments. This is a practice of devotion to breath and devotion to our body. And this level of devotion that we want to enculturate with our practices to arrive in adoration. An adoration, to be adored and to adore. Why not take these moments in your day just to adore yourself? I know that it may be difficult to love yourself, and I know that it may be difficult to forgive yourself, but there's an opportunity in this moment right here to just adore who you are in this moment. Doesn't cost us a thing. So let go of all of your stories that are keeping you from that moment and just breathe into the bottom of your belly, feeling your body fill with life and love it. Breathing in. Breathing in. I think what it comes to for me is I recognize that there is um, the presence of shame and guilt. And those are the two aspects that I think probably keep me from becoming in any moment. And when I say becoming, I mean being able to fully become alive with love or with excitement or joy. Um, it's not that I'm afraid moving forward that I'm going to feel bad. It's that I have a knowledge that I don't know how to necessarily feel good. That's where shame and guilt are. They're the ones who are the aspects of us that tend to not allow us to necessarily feel fully joyful or fully free, fully liberated. It doesn't allow us to become unfettered in our growth. And we get so accustomed to those voices that we just say, well, that's just how I am. I'm not a person who can do this. I'm a person who does this, this, and this. And that labeling, that constriction upon ourselves is the actual thing that stops us from becoming something surprising. And I know that in the times of my avoidance, I would use whatever I could at my disposal to avoid confronting those feelings. I could walk away from things that I knew that I was deeply connected to. I could leave bands with people I made music with my whole life. And just walk away, you know. They don't love me anyway. They don't even like me. They don't want nothing to do with me. And there's the voice of shame and guilt and all of that that says, don't try to step into who you are. They don't love you anyway. Just move on. And that voice was pretty prevalent in my life, and it had to require me to have that level of disconnection and dissociation from myself. I had to use tools. I had to use drugs and alcohol and food and cigarettes and sex and blame. That was a big one. Blaming others, blaming systems, blaming all of these things for my own fear of becoming. Because at least if my pain was manageable, then it was okay to do the same thing over and over again, because I could handle that. I knew how to function and stay alive and feel pleasure within that. I didn't know how to feel joy. I didn't know how to be loved. I didn't know how to love, but I knew how to feel pleasure, and that was good enough. And so I lived for a long time with those voices. And it really, honestly, I don't know if it was until the drive this morning or even in the voicing of this now that I'm starting to realize that I can just say thank you. Just thank you. I'm going to let it go now. And it doesn't mean that the shame and the guilt just leave. they're they're aspects. They are aspects of who I am. They are deeply embedded there by something for some reason, but that doesn't mean that I have to run away from them. It also doesn't mean I have to follow them and listen to them every time. So trying to understand what the guilt and the shame and the voice of uh, protection might be. But there is that thing. And when I am living in my wounding, everything hurts. And when I am living in my healing, everything is medicine. I've said that 100 times at least in this morning sit. And I'll continue to say it because I feel it deeply. And I see it play out time and again that when I start to take things in as harmful or hurtful over and over again, I have to recognize that, oh, it's me that's wounded. I have a wound. And these things are just things. They're just doing what they do. But for some reason, it stings on this particular day, in this particular moment. It hurts deeply. The words you use feel like weapons to me, or your motivations or intentions feel like I'm at the center of the target. And I'm not. And they aren't. But it feels that way because I'm touching into a deep wound of mine, an unhealed place that's tender and requires tenderness. So being able to recognize in the moment when I am living in my wounding gives me an opportunity for one of a few things. I can either be gentle with myself and with the person I'm sitting with, or I can be defensive and I can protect myself, or I can be avoidant and I can close off entirely and avoid dealing with any of it. Nope, I'm not talking about this with you. I'm sick of doing this over and over again. There's the script. There's the script coming out. Now we've called in this character and they've got their script and they're playing that role perfectly. Whatever those choices are that we choose, the most difficult one to choose is to choose to step into your wound, to step into your discomfort and just go, you know what? That really hurts and I'm here for it. I'm not going to stop you from saying it. I'm not going to stop you from being, because I need to be this right now. I need to become through this experience. And I think the thing that's so difficult about becoming is you don't know what it looks like. I know what hurt looks like. I know what shamed looks like. I know what guilty looks like. I know what unjust looks like. I know what fear looks like. I have lived with them for long enough that I can manage living with them more. What I don't know is what liberation looks like. What will I become in this moment? And will you still love me? Because there's a belief that you don't love me, you love these aspects. You love the calm, you love the intelligence, you love the kindness. There's a belief that, what if I become something you don't love? I heard a motivational speaker speaking to a group of youth, and he said one of the most damaging things that I think a youth could hear, and it upset me. He was asked, what is the most important thing you've ever done? And he replied, the most important thing I ever did was become the man that my wife could fall in love with. She's the most important thing in the world to me, and I needed to become what she would fall in love with. And I just heard that, and I heard that voice was an old voice to me, that you need to become lovable. You need to become attractive. You need to become something that this other person will validate. Now, I don't know if that was his intention, but it just reminded me that I've heard that voice before. And what I've never heard is, you need to become whatever it is that you would become if you were encouraged in each moment to keep going. Just keep going. You got this. You're doing it. You're doing it. And all the voices I've heard and all the voices I've created, they tend to have a tendency towards stop, drop, and roll, right? Like, you're on fire, is burns, put it out. But I think that the other fear of becoming is sometimes it brings a darkness. Sometimes it brings chaos, and it brings a force of uncontrollable elements into our lives where we have to release our control, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. But what if we knew? What if we knew that we were loved? And that means that whatever terrifying thing this is, it's okay. It's all right. And whatever you are feeling, whatever you are doing in this moment, you're okay. I love you. You're fine. Whatever you're doing to survive, whatever you're doing to make it through the moment, whatever you're doing to tend to your wounds, even if that means you're avoiding them, you're okay. If I could feel that about myself, if I could get to that place, then I think I could become what it is I'm becoming. And there's no stopping becoming what we're becoming. There's just a matter of, are we going to accept it when it's here? Well, let's see. We've got Bell Hooks, Appalachian Elegy, number 12 today. We're on number 12. Remember, we took a couple of weeks off. So we're making our way through this amazing tome, this amazing series of small poems, little vignettes and love stories and moments of Bell Hooks' gratitude and appreciation of the place from which she comes, the place from which she became. And Appalachian Elegy is the book, and the subtitle is Poetry and Place. And there's just been an odd level of occurrences throughout this practice of the poem kind of lining up. And maybe that's just my brain's way of trying to make, all of the puzzle pieces fit. But I don't know. Let's see what happens today. Appalachian Elegy number 12. Mud sliding down. Wet can do this, make danger, fall upon us. Turn the pure in heart away. No water for holy cleansing, no water for drying thirst, just black death, smothering earth, soot after fire. I can't help but feel in this moment that this poem is obviously referencing mudslides after rains and after fires. It's very prevalent where we live as well in the mountains of Southern Oregon that fires, rip through an area, just tumble through, and commonly after that, when the rainy seasons come, because of the amount of loss of vegetation and the destruction to the soil, you'll get these massive mudslides, this clearing of space. And this line here that really gets me. Wet can do this, make danger fall upon us, turn the pure in heart away. I think that this feels like turning the pure in heart away. It's like we can show up for so much, but then we have these conditions that we place upon things. Like even those of us who want to love freely and fully, we still get to this place where we go, I can't do this. No water for holy cleansing, no water for drying thirst, just black death. When we forget that when I'm in my wounding, everything hurts. You got this wounded piece of land, you've got this wounded part of the earth that's healing, and part of that healing is these massive shifts and changes. And the thing that we always feel should be pure and holy and like giving us nourishment is actually the thing that's causing pain, causing fear. Love is like this. Love is a lot like this. There are so many people who would prefer to not feel love because of the knowledge of the landslide of emotions and pain that come with it. To think that love is only these butterfly feelings is not even beginning to step into what love is. And once the landslides of emotions begin, so many of us turn away. I think about that right now with what's happening in the streets of our country here in the US, when I see hundreds of people surrounding ICE agents and disallowing them from being harmful, just saying, I'm putting my body here. This needs to stop. We need to stop. And I think, where are we in the showing up for this? Thousands of people have been rounded up and black bagged and kidnapped in front of their families, and people don't know where their parents are. I watched a video of a school teacher as he wept, telling the story of being locked into his school when the school across the street was being raided by ICE agents during an elementary school graduation. An elementary school graduation. families there to celebrate their children's accomplishments in becoming something great, something in our society that is accepted and loved, and this is the opportunity taken to come and tear these families apart. And the school teacher was sharing this, and I thought, I can't look away. I see this mudslide of all of this pain and all of this fear that's driving this culture of weaponized humans, and we're causing damage. And then I see posts by people who I otherwise feel is a pretty compassionate and deep thinking and understanding person, shaming the protesters for using aggression to stop these ICE agents from tearing families apart. And I don't understand that. I don't understand the desire to use more shame and more guilt. People are doing what they can do to survive, and that's on a macrocosmic level and a microcosm. One-on-one, individuals, in my individual relationships, each person that I love and that I'm sitting and connected to is just doing what they need to do to survive today. And I have to remember that the definition of compassion is being able to say, if I had your life and I had your experiences and I had at my disposal the same tools that you have at your disposal, I would be making the exact same decision as you. There is no question. I am no different from you. If I were living in your body right now, I would be choosing the things that you are choosing. That's compassion. Fully understanding that you are just doing what you can do with what you have. And I am just doing what I can do with what I have. And when we stop doing these things as individuals and start coming together, my God, we can do so much more. May the heavens fall. We just need to get out of our individual fears and into our understanding of how big love is making us. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you to Bell Hooks for this amazing book. And thank you, shame and guilt. Thank you, fear. Thank you, injustice. Thank you, anger. For telling me what love is asking of me today. Hariom.